G'day enthusiasts, and welcome to a brand new episode of Rob's Shed. Today we're going to be talking a bit about the Boss Goss, and as I've said before, this is the most involved automotive project I've ever tackled in my life. This video is a direct result of an inquiry from Michael about the front suspension. Now Michael was asking how we went about putting late model suspension under our XB frame. Well, the short answer is it was a lot of work, and the idea evolved a bit as we went along. So I'll start with the whole process from start to finish and talk about the way we went through it. Now originally we didn't have as much horsepower. We were just basically doing a bit of a muscled up resto for the XB, and we had gone to an aftermarket front suspension with these struts in here from a company called Driveline Racing. Now their strut system works well with a standard Falcon front end, and it basically takes out the upper control arm and gives you a McPherson strut in its place. Now, put it simply, the strut's just an aftermarket Commodore one, and Driveline Racing have made their own adapter stub to bolt onto the strut and then back down to the Falcon lower control arm. So we bought the system, we put it in the car, and then we wound up putting late model rear suspension in the car. And then we thought, well, our front suspension's a little bit outdated. What we really want to be doing is using late model front suspension components as well. But we already had this nice strut. So we've adapted that to 1999, 2005 sort of technology under here, and then made it fit with our early Falcon backspace wheels. So we've modified the kingpin inclination to get that correct for our wheels. And the other thing we've done is we've given ourselves quite a lot of caster adjustment, and this will make the car drive a lot firmer on the road. We've got power steering, so when you look at European cars like Mercedes-Benz and things like that, they do come factory with a lot of caster angle on them. So that's sort of where we've followed their lead to give us a better handling car than what we could have with the Falcon suspension. Now, as our horsepower requirements increased, we decided the car needed to be stronger. So we've made all these replacement rails all the way through the car out of 3mm plate. Now while they look like they're Falcon rails, they are shaped to fit over our suspension. So where these cross members bolt in, this is actually higher in the car than where the bottom of the original rails were. So the original rails were somewhere down here, and we've lifted the whole rail up in the car to allow this to be bolted underneath it. We've also had to adjust the track to come back to our earlier model Falcon, and this is still a work in progress. So we've got a bit of welding to do in here, we've got to put a reinforcement in here, and we've got to do some reinforcing on the cross member back here yet before that's completed. Now this also involved narrowing the steering rack, and we'll just brake here and we'll just lift the car right up and we'll have a close look from underneath. Now I'm building this car with a good friend of mine, Phil, and he owns an awesome machine shop in town and does all sorts of metal fabrication, custom machine work. So for Phil, it was no drama to narrow the steering rack the required amount by machining the ends of the shaft down, and we've got all that to work. That all bolts in there and works well. And the big killer that you get when you build a custom front suspension is the toe in and out run out across the suspension range. If you can imagine looking at your two front wheels and they're pointed in a plane where they're running down the road, if the fronts of the wheels are pointing together, that's toe in. If they're pointing outwards, that's toe out. So on most cars, Falcons included, Holdens, everything, Chevs, Fords, whatever, the suspension range will change the toe in and out as it runs through the range. So you could imagine closing the suspension all the way up until it's fully compressed and measuring the toe in, and then dropping it down to ride height and measuring it again, and dropping it all the way down to full travel and measure it again, and that will give you your toe in and out run out across your suspension range. Now we have less than 80 thousandths of an inch across the entire range now, and for a car that's unbelievable. It's as good as you're going to get. But we've had to do a lot to achieve this. Part of it was relocating the steering rack. We've got that in a different location to where it was on the original cross member. So we've had to play with that a lot, but we've wound up moving it up in the car a little bit to where it was originally. So that's sorted. We've got all our caster and camber angles are fully adjustable now, and it makes it a really good front end for being able to adjust it on the fly. Now, to get the basic settings in the car, if we come around here and look up into the guard, I've made custom towers to fit the strut in there, but they're also further back in the car to where the original XB Falcon ones were. And this is to give us our caster angle that we desired. We've also made, up at the top, these just adjuster plates. Now these were custom made for the car, and it gives us a good range of adjustment. Now what we did was we built the car up and weighted it up to curb weight, put it on a wheel alignment machine, and then worked out where we wanted the caster to be, and then we put the tower in the car in the appropriate location. And now we have got the caster adjusters centered, so we can reduce the caster or increase the caster from our desired figure at any point in time. So if we drive the car and find that we want more caster or less caster, we've got plenty of adjustment to do that. So while we're here, I'll give you a bit of a walk around underneath the car. We've got on the left hand side at the moment, now I know you're all going to notice this straight away. This is a right hand brake caliper. It's just on here for mock-up purposes at the moment because we're still working with this. But this is our brake package. We've got 6 piston PBR calipers on the front. We've got these massive ventilator discs on the front, and on the back we're running 4 piston PBR calipers and the matching discs for that. 2-piece discs, and this should be plenty of stopping power for this car. Underneath the back of the car we have got late model Falcon independent rear suspension, and to make all that work we've got the piece of floor out of the matching car and with the suspension bolt straight in as it would in the original Falcon that it was designed for, and we have put all that piece of floor straight above the axle. These rails here came from that car and they come back to just behind the rear mounting point in here. So we've got a custom piece of rail that fits in behind that to run back to the back of the car, and then from the front we've got our custom made rails made out of 3mm plate which forms a nice solid chassis underneath the car. These cross braces carry the seats, and ultimately we will have a seat in the car with a seat belt built into it. So this is also the seat belt anchorage in the car, so it's got to be stronger than just what a normal Falcon would have been with the seat belt mounted to the pillar, because we're going to have to get engineering approvals for all of this. So when you build them and build them overkill, you never have any trouble with engineers, because with our system in Australia everyone wants everyone else to be safe. So we've got to build a car that the engineers say that we're safe in, and it's got to be safe to drive down the road, because let's not have an accident and kill someone with our modified car. The floor in the car is now 50mm lower than what it was originally, and mainly because this car's got a sunroof in it and it robbed 50mm of headroom, and Phil and myself, we're both well over 6 foot tall, and we didn't want to be driving the car and having our heads squashed down underneath the sunroof mechanism inside the car. The exhaust system, we started out with a set of off-the-shelf headers for a late model Falcon that had the Boss motor in it, but they just didn't fit at all, so they've been cut into a million pieces and reconfigured to fit into our Falcon. Now, one of the only stock components on the car at this stage is the front sway bar, and that's exactly as it would have come out of the later model car. We've even got the same brackets that hold it to the chassis rails, and these are designed as a disposable part. Because they're quite low even on the car that they were designed for, they're made of quite light material, and it's very common to see them bent. So they're one of those things that Ford decided would be expendable, so they made it in such a way that they were easily replaceable. So we have got a completely stock part here. Should we have trouble with it, we just unbolt it and put a new one on there in the future. The engine is sitting further back on the cross member than what it was originally designed for. So we've got this custom oil pan where I've cut the bottom of it off and I've slid it forward on the engine, welded it back together, and then plated it across here and filled it in the back there. And we've got the necessary clearance around the bottom of the cross member to make it work. and then the engine mounts were modified accordingly to actually sit the engine a bit further back on the mount. Now because we're running the supercharger on it, we've got a custom water inlet for the engine. That's been modified there and feeds in up the top, and we've got a radiator hose now that sort of comes straight down and around, and then it has a little join in it just in here, and then we go back to being the original Falcon hose that suited this model car. Walking back, the transmission is a Tremec, and we've still got a bit of a grey area with the starter motor. We've got a bell housing to put the Tremec onto the 290 motor, but it was made for a left-hand drive car, so it came with a starter motor provision on the right hand side, but for our right hand drive Australian cars, that's right where the tower for the steering rack is, so there's no room to squeeze the starter motor up in this little area in here. So originally we looked at putting the original Australian Falcon starter back on this custom pad that Phil made down here, but it really wasn't going to work. The sway bar was in the way of it, the exhausts were going to be in the way of it, and so we've given up on that idea, and the current plan is to use the starter motor supplied with the bell housing and fit it into the same spot on the left hand side as that it's currently on the right hand side. So that's going to involve building a custom bulge on the side of the bell housing for the starter to fit in, getting the necessary clearance right, and we'll cut a little piece of web out of the side of the block and machine the block so that we can fit the starter in there. And once again, this is the sort of stuff that Phil's doing all the time in his machine shop, so it's no big chore for him, and it's going to be great when it's done. The gearbox cross member is made from 3mm plate, and it's made with these big humps in it to clear over the 3-inch exhaust pipes. And that was made by forming right angle pieces and then heating them and bending them into the shape I wanted and welding them all together and a lot of grinding. But everything's tight. We've got enough clearance but no extra clearance, and at the moment I've got a little spot where it's touching the floor just up in here on the right hand side. So once I've got the cross member out again, I'll press the floor up a little bit higher and give myself probably about 8mm gap, and that'll never touch. Now, big heavy mounts in here. Everything's overkill. This is all 3mm plate to make these brackets. We've got 4 bolts holding the cross member in, and that's never going to go anywhere. And when it comes to custom cars, we all need to get engineering approvals, but if the engineers can see that you have done an exceptional job of your fabrication, you never have any trouble with them. They're car enthusiasts just like us. They just like to see it done right. The exhaust system's 3-inch all the way through, and we've got an X in the centre. If you're not familiar with the X in an exhaust pipe, it's mainly to break the noise up and get them quiet. Now, because we're building a retro car that we want to look like it was a production car, if Ford had revisited the XB Falcon and decided to build a new one today, we want it to be that style of thing. So we want it very quiet. It's got to have a V8 rumble, but we don't want it loud. It's got to sound like it's a production car. So we've got forward of the axle, there's 2 MagnaFlow mufflers, and rear of the axle, there's another 2 going to fit up in here in these cavities on each side. Now the fuel tank, we started out with an original XB Falcon tank, and it's had extensive modifications so that we can actually fit the mufflers in this area down here where we want them, and that's going to work out nicely. Now what I do with fuel tanks when I'm doing custom builds with steel tanks, particularly when we want it to look like a factory tank, is you weld it as well as you can possibly get it and spend a lot of time nitpicking the welds, looking for little pinholes, and you can get them airtight. And then what I do as a security after that is I'll lead wipe all of these seams. And so if there happens to be the tiniest little spot where fuel will weep through, and because petrol's very viscous, it'll leak through the smallest of holes. So once you lead wipe them, you just finish it off completely. And also, you can actually finish the tank where you've got a little bit of a low spot like that there. Lead being old-fashioned body filler, you can actually get the tanks looking really nice after you've done it. Very time consuming, very expensive, but well worth it when it's done. So there's a little walk around underneath Boss Goss, and hopefully from Michael I've answered all his questions. Now I'd like our YouTube channel to become very interactive. So if you've got any question about anything you've seen or anything you would like to see, please contact us, Now that's easy to do. You can do it on the comments section on the YouTube channel. No problems there at all. Just go to our Rob's Shed Car Restoration channel page on Facebook and send me a personal message through there. Or you can contact me by email at rob@robshed.com, and I'm only too happy to answer your questions either by responding via email or, in the case of what Michael was asking, making a video to address your concerns. I'm Rob Teal. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up and please subscribe.